Joni and I always look forward to these and connecting with all the wonderful people. And this is our fifth dance, and we're slipping into autumn. The trees are turning yellow, and it's a beautiful time of year. We've had a dance in between the last time we had one of these chats, and that was Montana. And we're going to be talking about New England today. But I'd like to give you a brief kind of summary of how Montana went. I personally attended this dance. I traveled up to Montana, and I, along with Francis Roy and my grandson Joe Angelo, and a black kitten on a pink leash. And we traveled and had a wonderful dance. There was 8 people actually at the site, and the dance went very wonderful. It was a kind of like a Mariah in miniature, except we didn't do the scry, but everything else we did. There was the fire and the bundle and the tree and the ancestor altar and everything. And we sang like, I think about 4 songs, plus the opening and closing. And it was very wonderful to be there in Montana, in that area surrounded by the pine trees and everything. And just simply be at a site, because I haven't done this for a long, long time. And one thing about it is that while we were conducting the ceremony, we could feel the power of people coming in, the prayers swirling around, and the different people coming to mind who were attending the dance. And you could feel all that energy, and it was very wonderful to be in the center of that. And of course, we had the spirit feast afterwards, small spirit feast, and the dance started about 10:30 and ended about 3. So it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. But now we're going to go on to the next dance, which is New England. And I have had the pleasure of being in some of the meetings with the New England folks. And they're very methodical about what they're planning to do. And so we're going to be talking about that, how this dance is going to be. So Joni, what do you have on that?
New England is really taking great care. They've done a lot of work to, as a community, take a look at what the quality is of their community and their dance, the unique individual quality of that. And they define that as family and community, so that their actual intention is we are dancing for connection with our Creator, to receive support and guidance in moving forward into our new world. They've thought through really carefully how to take care of people, and that's been of utmost importance to them. In particular, this is true because 2 of the people really most called to dance are longtime friends and sisters, Brenda Mitchell and Deb Austin. And,
yes.
And Brenda Mitchell has a highly compromised immune system, as you may know. She has successfully battled back a fairly annoying cancer, and is doing incredibly well, incredibly quickly, and she's absolutely driven to dance. She's absolutely determined to be at that tree. And so they've been taking really careful care of themselves, and the dancers have been taking really careful care of each other. So their council determined that there would be only 8 people at their tree, and they are the 4 vision keepers, Deb and Brenda, and John and myself. These people of long standing will be representing and holding that energy, holding that space for all of the others, everyone who taps in, all of the community and everyone who taps in and dances from afar. John and myself are counted among those 2 because we'll be burning for them the day before. This particular dance always is a burning, and that's what they've asked for.
Well, before we go any further, when is this event going to occur?
The 26th of September. And the burning will be done on the 25th, the day before. And one of the keepers of the camp has been, who's Passamaquoddy, who has always been looking out for us in our relationship with that camp, got the camp to open up for us so that we could burn on the land that we would ordinarily burn on and be right there to talk to the spirits and take care of things before we dance. The dance will actually be done not at the camp because they're not equipped to open up. They're not equipped to open up the whole camp. They've been closed since March. Deb Bickford is the location, in addition to the bungalow, is the location of the 2013 tree, and that's the tree we'll be dancing around.
I remember that tree when it was small.
It's strong and it's beautiful, and it's especially heartwarming to know that we'll be able to take care of things where the spirits are used to coming, and also to have a tree that's already in the ground, because you know from Wolf Creek the power of that is extraordinary. But they also, from the moment they decided that they wanted everybody to gatekeep, that was one of their ways of taking care of everybody, so that they had a real sense for what was coming towards them at the tree. The moment that they decided that, their gatekeepers started having meetings on, get it right, Tuesdays.
They've been busy.
They've been very busy, and they've been really, it's beautiful because the balance of the council putting together the dance has been this wonderful balance of old timers and new bucks.
Yeah.
Endos.
So what are some of the things that they've envisioned in this, how this dance, how is it going to run?
They actually have put up for the first time that they are welcoming new dancers. We had long discussions about this, and they determined what was the best way that they felt they could do that. While they are welcoming new dancers, they are also requiring them to gatekeep with a local person from the dance. They've got all the babies going through David, who's the skull keeper.
Is everybody going to be gate kept?
For New England, yes.
Probably one of the things that we should talk about is that the tradition of with the Native people, of course, is that you just don't go into a ceremony and say, "Oh, I'm going to go." Depending on the ceremony, there is sometimes days, sometimes weeks of preparation before you even do the ceremony or go to the ceremony to participate. Depending on the ceremony, you know, how major it is or whatever, there's all this preparation and mindset, and you move in a certain way during the days or weeks before, bearing in mind that you're going to enter this and it's going to be a life-changing situation for you, whatever type of ceremony it is. And so in the preparation for this dance in New England, that's what I would advise, is that that there's preparation before. I know we all lived hurried lives and everything, but maybe several days before, get yourself ready to participate and to go into this. What would you say?
Over the 30 years of doing this, of the dance, we've seen lots of indications where having a few, even 10 or 12 dances under your belt does not make you immune to not having it together.
That's correct.
Because we're two-leggeds. And so
yes.
The real goal of a gatekeeper is nobody wants to be in your business. The real goal of the gatekeeper is to help you stay in integrity with yourself. Is to help you to get to the place you need to get to so that you can be as fully present, as fully focused, and as fully clear about your intention as possible. Because if you ask for it, you will get it. The Dear Dancer letter comes with the details about what time they're starting, when you should prepare your circle, and the links to making a vision arrow and the link to dancing from afar. All those things are in there, but you don't get that letter till it comes to you from your intention guide.
Yeah.
So that's their way of being thorough, and that's their way of taking the most responsibility that they are capable of to keep people safe. They also ask, my favorite question, I think, of all isn't a question, it's an instruction in the Dear Dancer letter. They say, ask yourself daily, are you in alignment with your intent?
That takes time.
Yeah. And it brings it right home to, are you really in this every day? Are you really, it's the equivalent of how bad do you want it? Only more so. Is your intention something you're putting energy behind and are prepared to get energy back from? The preparation reminds me of that year preparation for Sundance. It reminds me of the idea that you just don't drop into the middle of the experience. And if you are someone for whom that is called by Spirit at the 9th hour, Spirit helps you to get to that place.
Yes.
Like it or lump it. If the Spirit wants you at that dance, it puts you in that place where your preparation is right there for you if you are paying attention.
Yeah, it enables it. If you're supposed to be at that dance, it's like the domino effect. You got to focus on that, on your prayers and what you're doing with your life and how you're living your life those days before the dance and after the dance.
And then you have to be willing to adapt to the information, to the medicine that comes towards you that is part of that, and integrate that in a way that you can live with. And you have to be able to live with what comes back to you. Now that's always the as they say in Shakespeare, there's the rub. I mean, it's just that's because that's the nature of community. People are two-leggeds. Things are going to happen. People are going to grow, and the dance is going to spin you to wherever you need to go. That's its nature. But we were learning that then. So we are much more sanguine about it now than we used to be.
But we're still in the process of learning.
Yeah, not to say that we've got it. No, don't mistake me there. We are definitely in a process of learning. So since they're asking for that, it really makes me think a lot about us reminding people how to do the preparation of their circle that's necessary, how to be sure that they set it ahead. We're always saying you come from the moment that you commit to dance start working on you. And we know that's true, but it's a whole other thing to know that's true if that hasn't been your life way, or if it's, or if your life way's in flux, because when it happens and your life way's in flux, then it hits really differently than what you might normally be used to.
Yes.
I would tend to venture to say that pretty much everybody's life is in flux, and that so things may strike you differently than you're used to. So that preparation, that calm, still connectedness, it's really important. It really is it's a way you take care of yourself. Because if you're not taking care of all four bodies, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, then they don't plait together. They don't braid together. And something will come loose on you when you least expect it because it isn't getting food. Mm-hmm. And if you've lost somebody this year and you desperately feel the need for them to be fed, so you might call Carol Lunan and let her know that you have that need. It's not the end of the world if you don't. People have their own traditions. Everybody does, and they're all beautiful. This particular one does require you to do a little work. And that's, and because if you decide to do that, it took us a while to come to what made the most sense. But if you feel like you need help, you have to let them know what those people, it's your job to provide what they need to eat.
One way or another.
One way or another. And what I love, the story that came out of that was about spaghetti. Brenda and Deb needed to burn one year. They needed to know, and it wasn't even their feast. It was the feast that Charlie Patton taught. And Charlie said to them very simply, don't run out of your way to try. You aren't going to have white corn. If you do, fabulous. But I mean, just use make food that your relatives like to eat. Just do that. And if you don't have what they like to eat, don't panic. Make what you have from the heart. So Brenda and Deb they were really hurting for money that year, and they made spaghetti. And they set a place for them, and they put the plate out, and they left it out overnight, and then they took it outside, and they left it out the rest of the night.
It's purposeful intent.
It's purposeful intent, precisely. So if you are moved, if you are called to do that, and only if you are called, it's not something you take lightly, because your ancestors will respond. They're used to being fed, so they're looking for their food. They're looking for the party that's normally there. So we're taking care of that. They're going to start to set the circle on Saturday at noon Eastern time. And they ask that you do the same at that time. Sealing the circle. You've seen them seal the circle 1,000 times, but we remind you that each person, that there are many ways for you to set the circle. Set a circle around yourself in your altar or wherever you are. If you are near a tree, set yourself in a circle that includes the tree. That's always a good idea. Set yourself in a place where, be aware of the fact. I mean, if you have to get up 3 hours in and go to the bathroom, well, that happens in the dance too. But make sure that you're conscious going in and out of that circle, and you can always smoke yourself down again and again and again. As Clyde says, it's always more layers. You can always cedar off. You can always sage off. You want to do that as thoroughly as possible, just so that if you had to run up the hill to the bathroom and you run back down again, that you don't leave a part of your focus where you were, that your focus keeps coming back to the tree.
Yeah, there's a way of doing that. Like we're talking about not the physical circle where they are, but the one that you cast around yourself at your ceremony in your home or wherever you're having it. But what I found was that when you cast that circle, be it with smudge or salt or whatever, or just thinking it in your mind and casting the circle, is that when you leave, you open a temporary gate. And you open that, hopefully to the east, that you've left enough room there, and do whatever you're going to do. When you come back, you reseal that.
That's a good elucidation, Clyde, because in the past we haven't emphasized the entryway. The idea that people sealing themselves in a circle and stepping in and out of it, and then you have to remember to go through and reseal it again. It helps you to become conscious of the trail that you leave, because when you go anywhere in the world, behind us is a trail that's attached to us. We make beautiful trails everywhere we go. So if you go out and exit, you have a trail going out that includes the medicine of the tree. You want to come back in and make sure that you've sealed yourself up again. And that you're not dragging in wherever you were last in with you.
Yeah, it's most important. And of course, this is, for people that are in their homes during this ceremony.
Yes.
It's very good. Like I say, that's just a common ritual knowledge, ceremonial knowledge that you do that. Yes.
And I think it's a great opportunity to do something I always used to do with my students all the time, all the years of teaching. I mean, even when I teach at Vassar, I still mess with them around. Our first whole thing is about what direction are you in. It gives you the obligation to find out where in your house or your home is east.
Well, guess what? You have a compass on your phone these days.
I never thought about that.
Yes, you can get the exact. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like something Sean would say.
Well, it's true.
It behooves you to know. Well, doesn't it seem like a good idea to always know where you are? And that's really what we're talking about here. If you know where east is, then you know where you are. So we're teasing you, and we're also not, because what we're asking you to do is step up to a higher level of consciousness in yourself, in your home, in your practice. We're asking you to be aware of what those. Where does the sun come up? That can't be the hardest thing you do in a day. So those are. This dance will be an outdoor dance for them. So that'll be like their old dances. It's not an indoor dance the way it is at the camp. So the things, as you mentioned, the things that people can seal themselves up with, they can seal themselves up with salt, they can seal themselves up with cedar, they can seal themselves up with sage, they can seal themselves up with cornmeal, they can seal themselves up with, it could be salt water, they can seal themselves up with, you have to think about what things do. One of the things you are not able to seal yourself up with is sweetgrass. Please don't bother.
Yeah,
That's not a good idea.
not a good idea.
If you plan to take off for parts unknown and never return, that's another story. But no, that's not the function of sweetgrass. Sweetgrass is in the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabeg and other northern woodlands ways is used as a preparation, but it's a preparation to step into spirit. You don't seal anything with it. You don't clear yourself with it. If after you've done everything else before you begin to pray, if you want to brush some sweetgrass over your head, that's beautiful. The grandmothers love sweetgrass. Well, I think that the beauty of being at this stage is that the Dancing from Afar page is pretty specific. So it's always being updated because we learn from every single dance and how they choose to do things.
Yes, it's a process. It's a learning. It never stops.
That if you're drawn to dance from afar for this dance, make contact with a gatekeeper. That is easy to do because all you have to do is go to the page and go to the page and the page says for more information, and that information will be sent to you. So Clyde, we were talking about how New England's really gone to the trouble to examine how people are looking after themselves, how they're stepping into the dance, how they're bringing their intention in and carrying it and focusing it, how they're working to be present every second so that they can listen for and receive and then work with in the world what they receive from the dance. One of the questions that they have in their preparation questions is, how will I move forward to co-create a healing and harmonious world? How will I move forward? Not how will my neighbor move forward? And to create, and with the intention of creating harmony, with the intention of acting in a way that is harmonious. How will I do that in my daily life? I'm thinking a lot about the other end. They come out of the dance and it's a rush to get where they need to go, whether it's a rush to catch the plane or whether it's a rush to drive 9 hours or it's a rush to, but when you belong to a community that is far away, you know that you're going to be receiving essence, energy, and information from that ceremony 4 days after.
Yes.
Our minimal traditional phrase for that is, take care of yourself for 4 days after. That's the absolute bone bare minimum, because that can happen for some time after, and that's just the receiving end. The next step, the step that I see New England bringing out is, what do I do with that? And how do I use it to make it better in the world, starting with where I live? How do I, it may be, you go to a Michigan Murdered Indigenous Women or Black Lives Matter. In Nebraska, they call that Black Leadership Matters, which I think is very cool. If you go to either of those things, if you go to any kind of a protest, if you go to a political rally, if you go to be mindful of how you're bringing yourself into those things, because you're different from when you walked into the dance. You're different even if you think you're the same or feel the same, because we remind people all the time, Clyde, it's your endless retelling to them. You will not exit this dance the same. No one
Yes.
stays the same. That's
Yeah.
not the nature of this dance. If your plan is to stay the same, do something else. It doesn't work like that. And because we have to, if we're aware of being different, and if that difference is a greater awareness or a focus or a direction, that we bring that with us wherever we go. That, suddenly there's a reason to go into that place differently. We used to use a phrase at home. I think we still do a lot. That that I want to do something while the ceremony's still on me. I mean, I've caught myself saying that from time to time too, because it takes time for the body, the physical body, to settle, to reassemble itself, to realign itself after the spiritual body has spun up, has become more refined, is vibrating at a faster level. I'm hesitant to say higher because it's not a hierarchical thing. It's a resonance thing. And so it takes the body time to do those things. So you're already, and when you're done, you're not going to be in the place you were when you came in. So you want to be going into those situations. You want to go into the rest of your life knowing you're different and asking yourself, how can I make it different for others? How do I make a deeper connection, not just with Mother Earth and all her beings, but with the two-leggeds that I work with every day, or that I see at the grocery store, or that that I'm related to, that maybe I don't get along with, or that, it's not carte blanche to go out and I want to think about this now that I started that sentence. Because it is carte blanche to act, to be different. It is an opportunity to be different, to be more fully ourselves in that connected way, that related way that you were talking about.
What we're saying is, no matter what your activity is, be it a ceremony or a protest or whatever that is happening in this right now, you ritually prepare for that. And then after it is over, you ritually prepare to continue your walk in this life.
We go in with these, we come out with these.
Okay, Johnny, for kind of summarize things up, what is the vision of New England?
We are dancing prayerful action for unity and true community. So it is true community, not the illusion of it, but the kind where you step in. They're looking to move forward with action. And that certainly is what we're being called to do at this time.
And unity being of one mind in a prayerful and loving way. Well, with that, thank you, folks, for being with us this afternoon in our number 4 Fireside Chat. And I hope we take the things that we've discussed here to heart. We've covered a lot of area for you to think about, and a lot of things that have surfaced during this conversation that we didn't know. We just put it in Spirit's hands. And so you all have a wonderful fall, and walk with the Spirit and walk with the blessed. Thank you.